My name is Peyton Gill, and I'm a junior psychology major.
And I'm Melanie Johnson, and I'm a senior social work major.
So our research was focused around what draws people to live in Jacksonville or to choose not to live in Jacksonville. We are working with the Jacksonville Regional Economic Development Corporation, who told us that there are 50 major employers in Jacksonville and that more are actually coming to the area, who are going to hire a lot of individuals from this area. Paul, who was the head of this, actually told us that 8 of 9 of the executives that Reynolds hired chose not to live in Jacksonville. Only 1 actually chose to stay in the area, and they more moved to like the Chatham area. So we wanted to know why that was. What causes people to stay here or pushes them out of the area?
And the #1 employer in the area is Passman.
I'm going to quickly go over what we did, what we looked at, looking with literature and articles. We were looking for like why people choose to live in rural or urban areas, why people choose to live where they live. We found personality as one of those things, being more outgoing, more introvert, how they act, can choose where they want to live. Another thing was, the amenities of what that town has, what they want in a town. Also, attachment to the town, what gets them, why are they attached to the town, and so they'll choose to stay there or live there. And how the community participates, what the community does that help want people to be there. And also, last, creative class. And if you don't know what creative class is, that's more of like jobs where you have more of a choice of like how you're going to do something versus having rules that you have to do something a certain way. You can say, well, why don't we try it this way? You have more creative control.
Right, for our method, we chose to do a survey because we thought that'd be the best choice versus doing an interview or any other form of method. We had 259 participants that chose to do the survey. We found it was difficult to get people to participate, but I'll talk about that later. We did test our questions ahead of time using a field test method, and these two did that, and it helped us narrow down what kind of questions that we were going to use and come up with the best formal question. We used both open and closed-ended questions, and once the data was collected, we split it between the 3 of us. Jordan took the quantitative, and Melanie and I both took the qualitative, and she ran all the data, and we split our qualitative data into groups and found the different themes within them. And our project was reviewed and approved by the following people.
Okay, some of the questions we asked focused on the reasons why people choose to live here, whether or not they feel like they have creative independence at their workplace, that they kind of have control over what they do every day. We also talked about when you think about the family that you visit for the holidays, how far away you're traveling, whether that's here in town or as much as 2 hours away, and how far away the distance was between the individuals and their families. We found that 82.2% of the participants lived in Jacksonville and 81.5% of them worked in Jacksonville, but just because you live in Jacksonville doesn't mean that you work in Jacksonville as well, though a lot of people did do both here in town. We found that 28.6% of the people responded that they travel between 31 minutes and 2 hours to be with their family during the holidays, 29.8% greater than 2 hours, and 41.5% less than 30 minutes, which was our largest percentage, which led us to believe that most people's families live here as close as possible. And we also asked if our participants were introverted or extroverted. Introverted meaning that they process things internally, prefer alone time. Extroverted, that they draw energy off of other people and being around other people, and they like that experience. We found that 42.2% were extroverted and 57.8% were introverted. A lot of people described being introverted as the reason for living in a rural region as opposed to a city. They don't like to be around people. They prefer alone time, so that's why they chose somewhere as small as Jacksonville or its outlying towns. We also asked if they have creative independence at their workplace. 70.6% said that they did, and 29.4% said that they did not. And we also asked if they would rather commute than live in the Jacksonville area. If they were so desperate to get out of Jacksonville that they'd rather drive every day to live somewhere else. We found that 23.8% marked yes, that they would rather commute, and 76.2% said that they would not, which actually surprised us. We thought it would be a greater percentage of people would rather live elsewhere and commute, but the overwhelming majority said that they would rather live here than drive to work every day. We asked if people had a sense of attachment to the place that they live, that they felt, positive feelings about actually living in Jacksonville. The overwhelming majority, at 78%, did feel a sense of attachment to Jacksonville for various reasons, and only 22% said that they did not feel a sense of attachment to here. So that surprised us as well. We thought that it would be a greater percentage wouldn't really care whether or not they lived specifically in Jacksonville, but the overwhelming majority did. We also asked a question that was on a Likert scale, so it was on 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest rating and 5 being the highest, on the different amenities that Jacksonville offers. So we asked questions regarding the school system, parks, real estate and housing, community events, public transportation, fishing and hunting, coffee shops, restaurants, and retail businesses. Our municipal parks, fishing and hunting, and the awareness of community events were the highest scoring, which really surprised us. I think that the awareness of community events have gone up in recent years, which has really pleased people, it seems like. And our public transportation was the lowest scoring, which did not surprise us as the transit has been shut down here in town. The higher rating of the school system, which was about a 3, did surprise us because we heard a lot of negative comments about the school systems and expected them to be a lot higher, or a lot lower of a rating, I apologize, than they got. So the K through 12 school system actually rated, decently high. So that surprised us as well.
So when it came to the qualitative, we did find that there was more negative comments than positive comments, and we did group them into themes. And the negative comments, most of them were about the amount of fast food in town. They would like more sit-down restaurants, and I think most of us can agree on that. Less part-time jobs, more full-time job opportunities for people who live here. So if people go to college here, they can actually make a life and stay here. Most people do have to move away, and that's a big issue. Better communication with the city government was another one. And more amenities, like people put that they want a Starbucks, a Target, yeah, the good stuff. Some of the positives were really nice to read as well. They said that they love the sense of community that's here in Jacksonville. They love being a part of the Jacksonville area. They think the parks are really nice, well kept, very clean, and just had a lot of really nice things to say about the area.
So I looked at one of those 2 questions that I looked at a lot of the answers because they got to write in their own answers. So I had to sort into themes was reasons they chose to live in the town they live in. So it's not just Jacksonville. They could have lived in Springfield, Chatham. So in this area, and these are like the top 3 themes we found for both questions, which is family, employment, and the community. So family and friends was at 59%, so it could be about their kids going to school here, their family here, their friends here. Employment at 22%, community at 19%. And then also we did, are they attached to their town? Like Jordan talked, only 22% said they weren't. So I focused on the positive answers. And of the positive answers, they were able to give 2 reasons. And 91% of those answers were about family, friends being in town nearby. 6% was employment, and 2% community. I found it interesting how community went down for why they're attached, but it was higher to get them into a town that they live in.
So we concluded that this was a study that could be very helpful to Jacksonville to finding its strengths and weaknesses. And the results showed that this study can help the Jacksonville employment rates by helping employers know which people to choose, like to live in the area, and this can help them to know who to focus their employment efforts on and what can help them come into the area. Like if someone likes fishing and hunting, they might want to focus more on them versus someone who likes more of like shopping, with like Target, they may not want to live here. Jacksonville is a community. We can learn what we are attracted to. This was a really good study. We learned a lot from it. We also learned that Jacksonville attempts to attract the younger generation versus like the older generation. And they have a hard time getting them to become permanent residents. We also concluded that Jacksonville has a negative view towards the job options that are currently provided. As stated before, there are a lot of part-time jobs here. Fast food, some retail, sport like Dunham's in town, Shopko, Walmart, all part-time. There is some full-time, but it's not much.
We also were, not generally surprised about the reason that people wanted to stay is because their friends and family live here. A lot of people who, I being one of them, have generations and generations of family that have lived in Jacksonville. And I will continue to do so just because my family lives here, not because there's anything particularly about the town that attracts me to stay here. It's just where I will be because it's where my family is.
It's not just like just here. I think it's a generalized anywhere you live. You want to be close to family, your job. Because I'm not from this area. I'm up Chicago. They're from here. And I do feel family and jobs, even for me, is a main reason to be somewhere.
So our limitations, we did not have a large sample size like we predicted, and this did not allow us to generalize the entire Jacksonville population. We tried to put the survey out on social media. I know we all did on our Facebook, social work Facebook. We emailed a lot of people, text messaged people. I messaged people on Facebook as well, different businesses around town like Mexican restaurants, gyms, anywhere. And I just did not get the responses that I wanted. We just told everyone and just felt like we were just getting shot down, and that was probably the biggest limitation that we hit. Another one was we did not have enough questions. And when it came to drawing the conclusions, we felt that we did not have enough information present. As you can see, when we had the beginning, we had 81% that lived in Jacksonville. So when it came to, again, draw conclusions, we had a Jacksonville population. So we didn't get the input from Springfield or Chatham or any of the surrounding areas as much as we would have liked to compare our results.
All right. Does anybody have any questions?
I took the survey and I don't live in Jacksonville.
So, Sam, you bring up something that I think we found, and we discussed very recently, and feel free to speak to researchers, but whereas we went into this survey thinking we would be able to capture people who work in Jacksonville but don't live here, and it's because they live in a suburb like Chatham, like a Dr. Whitaker. What we actually ended up having, I believe, with more of an assumption than actual data, they come from smaller towns than Jacksonville, and they view Jacksonville as the big city.
No.
Yes, it's not that.
And so that's where I think some of this research turned really interesting. And then the four of us had some really good conversations, both in person and electronically, that, just the varying perspectives of Jacksonville or the attachment. I have zero attachment to St. Louis, and St. Louis is a small town to me.
Yeah.
Small,
Yeah.
it's a small town.
Oh,
Whereas,
to you.
whereas Peyton says, I want to go back from Jacksonville to my small town because she feels attached there. And so, whether it's from sociological, I don't know what perspective, what factors, obviously semester constraints, but some of really getting at the underlying factors here. I think, we found some stuff and some stuff was difficult and try to overlay personal stuff.
I'm much like Joe, I'm from Vegas and I'm here for work. And I took the survey and I actually complimented him afterwards. I thought it was extremely well written. You should be proud of yourself.
Yeah, it's a good survey.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
I also filled out the survey, and I would just say that I think that, you know, one of the things, you said a lot of the people were from Jacksonville, and I think that makes a huge difference, because if you're a transplant, like we are, I think your perspective is a little bit different.
It is, and if we had the chance to do it again, I think we try to reach out to different people next time and try to get it out to a wider span of people.
You know, it might be good to, you know, even do more of an interview type situation. You know, interview people who've been here all their lives, but also interview people who are
Which you did.
transplants.
She did an interview with Dr. Whitaker
Mhm.
about Jacksonville versus Chatham, correct?
Yes, I did,
So,
and that was fun.
he had a lot of opinions.
Well, and I'd like to say, while Peyton has expressed the constraint and the limitation strongly, I would say there was extensive outreach
Oh, yeah.
to try to get a broad